Hey, it's me, Kane. In case you didn't know, I'm making a game called Clipper, which is a game where you brainwash Vikings into producing millions of paperclips. In these videos, I'm demonstrating the process of putting together a demo for Steam Next Fest. There's only 23 days left until the demo is due to be submitted. There's still lots of work to be done. I promised towards the start of these videos that you'd slowly see me losing my sanity. I'm glad to be able to deliver on that promise. Let's jump right in. So, first of all, I just want to quickly apologize for the lack of videos for the last 2 days. I wound up finishing up at midnight for the last 2 days in a row, which technically meant that I wasn't able to complete a video for that day anyway. But the good news is lots and stuff has been done in the meantime. So the best way to show you what's been done the best way to tell you about what's been done is actually by not telling you, by instead showing. So why don't we jump into the game and I can show you the stuff that we've been up to. Okay, so one of the first things you might notice is that there's a little bit more things going on at the moment. So one of the things that I've been trying to focus on is more of like the, I dare say mid-game, but more than just the things that happen when you first start up the game, like more than like the first like couple of minutes. And I realized one of the reasons why I was having trouble doing that is because the game is just basically always starting up right at the start. And so the biggest feature that I've implemented or rather re-implemented this week is saving and loading. So that I'm able to start the game up from some, I don't think I have to explain how saving works, but so they can pick the game up from more than just the start of the game. And start, actually getting into some more sophisticated supply chain setups. So here we can see some of the more like complicated buildings that have been added. These like cubes are just placeholders for things where the art team hasn't finished the asset yet. But already you can see like we have multiple Vikings. We're doing things like issuing multiple commands. And there's just like a little bit more of a sophistication going on here that I'm really happy with how it's turning out. So here we've got like a couple of things going on. We've reached our second milestone. So we're now at the point where we can issue multiple commands and we can build some of the more complicated buildings like the control tower. One of the other things that you might notice is we're starting to work in our what I've called the Viking welfare system, where you can start to see things like their hunger and their need for rest, etc. And so these are just extra considerations to keep in mind, as well as just making sure that your Vikings remain brainwashed and busy, so that they don't wander off. And so the main thing that's going on here is found a pathfinding bug there. Is we have these couple of Vikings. We're trying to get them coordinated so that, like for example, here I've got one of them is working on the iron ore and harvesting that. And then the other one is, going to be going back and forth and delivering the wood. So let me walk you through how that welfare system works. So every Viking has like these different things here. So you can see this guy Boris the Flatulent. He's got a hunger of 5 and a discontent of 4. And so if we want that rest to go down, we can do what his friend over here is doing, which is to go into a house, which is, like I said, this like pink cube that's currently under construction. And what that will do is slowly over time increase the amount of rest that he has. if a Viking's rest gets to 0 and they haven't gone to sleep yet, they'll literally just fall over right where they were. And so it's definitely something you want to keep an eye on. But even more important, mostly because like the consequences are even more dire, is food. So you can see here that he has a hunger of 5 at the moment. If that gets to 0, if that gets to 10, which is the maximum level of hunger, the Viking will die. They'll just drop dead and they're dead forever. And that's really bad. We don't want that. So what we need to do in order to get their hunger level down is take them over to this lake and get them to harvest some food. So this was like a decision I was trying to make around like what is like a reasonable food source that we could have in this world. And you know, in Iceland, Vikings, they're fisher people. Lots of fish. Look up the Cod Wars if you want a hilarious Wikipedia thing. But anyway, what that lets us do is we have like just a simple item that can be harvested, and once the Viking picks up an item that can be eaten, here fish is an edible item, then they eat the item and the hunger goes down. So basic stuff, but just making sure that this stuff is in the game and it's a consideration that you have to think about, I think is really important and starts to add like a little bit more depth. Lots of like little visual tweaks. You can see like some of the sunrise and horizon stuff is like coming over on Dave's face, which I think is kind of cool. You know, little things like our village is trying to come up pretty nice. Yeah, and so like the other part of the welfare system is that it feeds into this idea called discontent. So it matters how you treat your Vikings. So, you know, if you just try and work them to the bone and like don't feed them and don't let them have any rest, when their brainwashing wears off, that's going to affect what they do. And it's also going to affect like how long their brainwashing wears off. So the idea being is that if you're looking after your Vikings and they're getting rest and they're getting fed, they are going to be a little bit more compliant. They're going to be doing the things that you want them to do for longer. Whereas if you don't do that, there can be consequences to that. And so one of the consequences at the moment is just that they'll walk off. So you can see this Boris has the status escaped. But one of the things I want to do later on is have them actually start being destructive. So that'd be either like kidnapping your Vikings, that could be like destroying things that you've built, just generally causing chaos. And so I like to think of this as like, you know, the inverse of Factorio, where like in Factorio, the threat's coming out from outside of your factory. I really like the idea in Clipper that the threat is coming from inside of your factory and you're trying to, you know, defend it from itself, which, you know, we'll give that a go. We'll see if that's interesting. But what this means is that a lot of the core systems of the game, at least is what they're going to appear in the demo, are actually in the game now. And I think that's a really good place to be. So hence why I've been spending so much time the last couple of days, is just wanting to make sure that everything is in there, even if it's not in a great state, even if there's things like pink cubes and like the word magic, you know, and there's all those sorts of things, at least they're in there and then I can play them and then I can like iterate on them and start to get some feedback as we go. So, yeah, I think, so up next is obviously like everyday new art assets are coming in and starting to make these things look a little bit better. So we can have less pink cubes and more cool stuff. Some of the other big improvements that are coming down the pipe are more ways of like understanding what it is that a Viking's doing. Like one of the things that sort of bugs me at the moment is as you're like queuing up multiple commands, I'd love to be able to see like something in the UI of the game that shows you like these are the commands they're going to do, or even some other ways of doing that. It can be kind of hard to remember like what it is that they're doing. And then the other one is the control tower. I really want the control tower to be like a lot more, same thing. I want you to know what the commands you've had recorded in there. At the moment, you just kind of have to remember and make sure that they're issued correctly. So yeah, so all that's going to be covered tomorrow in an issue on GitHub I've created called UI Blitz. So that'll be a fun one. But yeah, that's unless I've forgotten anything, those are all the things that we've added into the game so far. Yeah, I think it's in a good spot. All right, that's all the time I have. That's all I have time for today. If you like any of the stuff you saw and you want to support it, please check out the link to my Patreon below, and I'd appreciate any support that you can give. There's some cool things on offer there. Until tomorrow, thanks very much for watching. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you then.